and gentlemen. Well, I need you to sing with me. Well, since my baby left, I found a new place to dwell. It's down at the end of Lonely Street. It's Heartbreak Hotel, yeah. I've been so lonely, baby. I've been so lonely. Thank you very much. I've been so lonely that I could cry. Yeah, Mama, that one's for you, Mama. And you know this one. You got to sing with me. You want to sing with me? No peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Just gonna sing. And then you go like this. There you go. Walking through the party at the county jail. And there was man that began to wail. They were jumping and the jump began to swing. Should have heard this knocked out jailbird sing, let's rock. Sing with me, everybody, let's rock. Everybody in the whole cell block was dancing to the jailhouse rock. Oh yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome to the 32nd annual, 32nd annual Spring Scene here at John Knox Village. Give a big woo-woo. Yeah. Should be 33rd, but last year kind of slipped past us, didn't it? So we're just diving right in with extra energy and extra effort. You are going to love the performances tonight. So our theme for the evening is Let the Good Times Roll. Say it with me. Let the good times roll. We have started Spring Scene every season with the same opening and the same lovely ladies. And so it is a pleasure and thrill to present to you, under the direction of Elaine McNamara, our very own The Notables. Notables, our very own. What a wonderful way to start the show. Keep it up. Nice round of applause. Thank you, Notables. Now, those of you who come to a chapel service on Sunday mornings, you think this is fun. You ought to come to church. But you know that by now that a bulletin is just a guesstimation of what's going to happen. So we're going to have some surprises tonight and some shifts in the program. So don't be surprised, just go with it. It is a pleasure to introduce to you a gentleman who is typically very, very shy. It's hard to get him out of his shell. But tonight he's going to make an exception. And so Jerry Stryker once again comes to center stage. And this time, not as our CEO, but rather to sing, this time for his first song presentation at Spring Scene. Yes, indeed, he's no stranger to the spotlight. He has sung with our chapel choir, the barbershop quartet, and many other special occasions. He has also participated, often in costume, in Knox rock skits and even parades, where I think he was a leprechaun this past year. So let me hear it nice and loud for our very own Jerry Stryker as he sings for you, "You're Nobody Till Somebody Loves You."
You're nobody till somebody loves you. You're nobody till somebody cares. Well, you may be king and you may possess the world and its gold, but gold can't buy you happiness when you're growing old. The world is the same, you never change it. As sure as the stars shine above. Well, nobody till somebody loves you. So find yourself somebody to love. Well, the world, it's still the same. You're never gonna change it. As sure as the stars shine above. Well, you're nobody till somebody loves you. So find yourself somebody. Well, find yourself somebody. Find yourself somebody to love.
Bravo. Thank you, Captain Jerry. Our next performer is Mr. Hal Bergman, who tells us that in his lifetime he has certainly worked very hard. He was in the Army, practiced a little law, even pushed securities on family and friends. But in midlife, he ran away from all of that, and he began a career in the movies. And Hal hasn't done a day's work since. You may have seen him in such titles as Matlock, Dawson's Creek, Cocoon, The Final Countdown, and scores more. Well, tonight he comes to you to chat a bit about the humorous side of President Calvin Coolidge. Who knew there was a funny side to President Calvin Coolidge? Let's hear a great warm round of applause for our very own Hal Bergman.
When President Harding died in 1923, Cal Coolidge, as vice president, stepped in, and then at the next election he ran and won, and he was a rather popular president. And the possibility existed that he'd run again, but instead of that, you may have heard the headlines everywhere in America was him saying, "I do not choose to run," and he didn't. Coolidge had a dry sense of humor, and unlike a lot of politicians you might know, he was very taciturn. He didn't say very much. And his dry sense of humor was evidenced in the monosyllabic approach to many of the things that he said. He said, if you don't say anything, you won't be called upon to repeat it. He also said, always remember that you are absolutely unique, just like everybody else. They asked him one time why he attended so many luncheons and banquets and dinners, and he said, well, you got to eat somewhere. At one of those dinners, a woman seated next to him told him that she'd made a bet that she could get more than 2 words out of him. And he looked that woman right in the eye and said, "You lose." They asked him how it felt to be president, and he says, you got to be mighty careful. Yeah. He insisted on getting his first federal paycheck delivered by messenger directly from the Treasury. And when the young man brought him his check, he cheerily said, "Come again." At a press conference, he was asked if he would say a few words about prohibition. "Nope," he said. "What about the World Court?" "Nope." The farm situation?" "Nope." "How about the senatorial campaign?" "Nope." And as he was leaving, he hollered back, "And don't quote me." He attended a tree planting, and after they dug the hole, they asked him if he'd say a few words. And he stood up, looked in the hole, and he said, "Oh, mighty fine angleworm." His wife, Grace, was the complete opposite. She was garrulous and enjoyed company. One Sunday, she, for some reason, stayed home from church, and Cal went alone. When he came back, he got busy with the morning paper, and Grace said, "Did the Reverend Everett preach today?" And he dropped the paper and said, "Yep." Went back to reading. After a little while, she said, "Well, what did he preach about?" And Cal said, "Sin." And went back to reading again. He said, "Well, what did he have to say about it?" And Cal put the paper down. "He was again it." They visited a chicken farm and were being shown around separately, and she observed a prize rooster busy with one of the hens, and she was told by the farmer that the old rooster could perform like that several times a day. So she said, tell that to Mr. Coolidge when he comes by. And the farmer did tell Cal about it, and he asked, same hen every time? And the farmer says, no, Mr. President, different hen every time. And Coolidge says, well, you tell that to Mrs. Coolidge when she comes by. Our 30th president died in 1933, and the Dorothy Parker, the witty columnist, when she was told that he was dead, said, how can they tell?
Mr. Hal Bergman. Woo! Another minor switch in our order tonight. You're going to love this presentation. Many of you will remember our next performer from previous spring scenes. His name is Rick Cadiente. Yeah, give him a nice round of applause. We love Rick. Rick is a longtime and highly valued John Knox Village employee. Many of you know firsthand that he is also a master plumber. When your sink is leaking, you want Rick there to fix it. He also participates in the annual art show and Christmas handbells. We are very blessed to be able to experience and listen tonight to Rick's talents as he plays for you on his Ibanez guitar a song called Hawaiian Slack Key. Please give a warm welcome to Rick Cadiente.
Good evening, and welcome to John Knox Village, where all the women are strong, all the men are good looking, and all the children are above average. I've been here at John Knox Village for 9 years. Every year that we've had a spring scene, with the exception of one, I have been involved in it. And I'm especially thrilled today to have my wife here. Sorry for getting emotional, but it's really a thrill to have her here, and she's sitting back over there somewhere. But if anybody sees a very attractive girl with shoulder-length brown hair, that's probably my wife, Belinda. So anyway, I will say that real quickly that Belinda is the mother of 4 of my 5 children, and my children and Belinda are my joy, along with playing the guitar.
Mr. Rick Cadiente, our very own Chet Atkins. Woo! Our in-house romantic, and you know how he got it certified as a expert plumber? He knows not to play the electric guitar in the shower. You gotta know these things. Most of you have already heard and admired our next performer, Robbie Gilbert, and her beautiful flute playing. You hear her at our worship services and at Christmas programs. And tonight she wants to present to you a very special song, and she's going to do it along with the accompaniment of our wonderful pianist, Mr. Chris Toth. I think we ought to give Chris a great big hand. He is... what will we do without him? This man is marvelous. And so, without further ado, we introduce to you our very own Ms. Robbie Gilbert. Let's give her a nice John Knox Village round of applause. The song that Chris and Robbie will be presenting is called Dancing Doll. You need a light?
No, we've got it covered.
With a special applause for the lovely Miss Jordan O'Day. Bravo, Jordan! Jordan is the granddaughter of Pete and Karen O'Day, and the most lovely Paul Laurie. What would a John Knox presentation be without a man in a pink tight? Thank you very much. Bill Davidson is a frequent spring scener, a villager, a song leader at Gardens West, where Bill would play or sing and lead songs with the accompaniment of our own Gladys Smith. And he's just an all-around, homespun raconteur. Tonight, Bill's going to edify us with some details about Miss Ruby, first grade teacher. Please give a warm welcome to our very own Bill Davidson.
Good evening, good evening. If it's all the same with you, tonight I'd like to do this in broken English. That's about the same as Southern English, but it's broken a little more. I want to take you back many moons ago to a little country store, that's my first mistake, to a little country school called Currituck Elementary. And by the way, if you're taking notes, Tuck is spelled capital T-U-K. The school was located about 5 miles from Dyer. And Dyer is about halfway between Kenton and Trenton. And it's over on the right-hand side of the road going north, and it's on this dirt road. The school building that we're talking about tonight was once a cow barn, but it got this facelift in 1920. And they made 3 large classrooms, an auditorium with a stage, and a woodshed. The school was very transparent. It was on this hilltop. You could see miles around. I'd like to introduce you Miss Ruby. Miss Ruby was a natural beauty. She stuck out in the right places. She had red hair. If you wanted a wig back then, you'd have to wait 6 months. Wigs were very scarce. She kept order with the palm of her right hand. She would lay it up in your face, and you would cry. But then she would take her towel, and she would wipe your eyes, and then she would give you a big hug. It worked every time. She taught grades 1, 2, and 3, and she taught dancing on Saturdays, primarily the one-step. And that was the forerunner of the two-step, which, by the way, later became the square dance. She had about 25 students in ages from 5 to 15. Pete, one of our favorite students, was 15. He had just turned 15. He was in the 3rd grade. He had this nickname. They called him Repeat. The school day started early, since everybody in that neighborhood got up with the chickens anyway. Miss Ruby would get to school early. If it was hot, she would raise the windows. If it was going to be cold that day, she built a fire in this big wood pot-bellied stove we had. We got our water from the pitcher pump out back behind the woodshed. At lunchtime, It was under, if it was nice weather, it was under this big oak tree. We had all sorts of things for lunch, and we were taught to share. The water was from this pitcher pump, as I said, out back by the woodshed, and we also had, for a dipper, we had this gourd. I don't know whether you've ever seen a gourd dipper or not. Actually, this style would actually be called a modified brown bag. At school, when school dismissed for the evening, for the day, she would give everyone a hug. Pete would get this extended hug. I was young then, and I didn't understand such things. We had furniture for little people. We had the low tables and the little chairs. Pete was larger, and he was sitting 2 chairs. Now for some of the amenities that our school did not have. We had no electricity. We got our light from a kerosene lantern. Night school was postponed until further notice. We had no yellow school bus. In fact, there was only 2 cars in the whole community. We actually, if you got to school at all, you had to either walk or ride a horse. If the weather was bad, you had to go ride in the buggy, and we also had covered wagons. Miss Ruby would wear cowboy boots. And also she would ride her horse. And Pete would valet park the horse. On stables, we had stables built for the horses right on the school grounds. She wore cowboy boots, and no spurs were allowed. We had no running water except when it rained. We had no library. The closest library was in Dyer, and that was 5 miles. That was between Trenton and Kenton. We had no indoor bathrooms. The bathrooms was way down there in the valley. Actually, it would have been better if you would start early, because there were no depends. This was a traditional school. It taught the 3 R's: reading, writing, and wrestling. In fact, we had the best wrestling team in the county. The dress code was very strict. Everyone had to wear shoes after the first frost. We had the regular school holidays, plus school turned out 3 weeks in the spring for strawberry picking, 4 weeks in the fall for cotton picking, and 3 days in November for rabbit hunting. We had an awful lot of rabbits in the community. And if you know anything about rabbits, a rabbit never saw another rabbit they didn't like a lot. Well, I got to go now, but I got to tell you, we had 3 great teachers, Miss Ruby, Miss Harwood, and Mr. Ed Duck, no relation to Donald. They made school very pleasant and enjoyable. They taught everyone to share, to care, and to believe. And that's the way it was many moons ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Bring back memories, folks? Yeah, you picture the schoolhouse, picture the outhouse. How many here went to school riding a horse? How many walked up hills both ways with snow up to here? No, yeah, we all did, didn't we? No. Who here remembers vaudeville? Oh, Oh, you've heard about vaudeville. Well, they tell us that vaudeville is dead. But our next performer, the ubiquitous David Hahn, I like that word, ubiquitous. It means he's everywhere. David Hahn has been doing his level best to resurrect vaudeville. In addition to scores of over-the-top bits in various John Knox Village productions, David has preached many a stirring sermon, always laced with humor, and has been a wonderful fill-in pastor for John Knox Village. Yeah, bravo! Yeah! He and his lovely wife, Twyla, are volunteerism personified here at John Knox. And we give you an advance warning. Be prepared. You will see him again in with the villagers later in this very show. But for now, David unashamedly enlists Twyla's help in illustrating something we are all going to be able to relate to. What my mother taught me. Please give another warm welcome with all the energy you can muster to our very own David and Twyla Hahn. This isn't David and Twyla. There's David Hahn.
I can't see. That helps. That helps. You know, all of us who are here tonight have grown in knowledge through the years. In our educational lives through school, college, graduate schools, living, we have learned from people more able than we are. But as I look back at my life, I believe much of what I learned came not from my formal schooling and education, but rather from my mother. So, tonight, as we begin to, oh, hi, Mom.
Hi, Dave.
Tonight, as we begin to try to learn ourselves what I learned, you may well see how your mother taught you when you were a child. For example, number one, my mother taught me the importance of neatness.
If you're going to kill each other, please do it outside. I just finished cleaning the house.
My mother taught me the reality of consequences.
If you fall out of that swing and break your neck, you're not going to the store with me.
My mother taught me about religion and faith.
I would suggest that you pray really hard that that stain comes out of that carpet.
My mother taught me the reality of time travel.
If you don't straighten up, I'm going to knock you in the middle of next week.
My mother taught me always to be prepared.
Now listen. Make sure you wear clean underwear in case you're in an accident.
My mother taught me how to deal with impossible situations we sometimes face in life.
Shut your mouth and eat your supper.
My mother taught me about contortionism.
Will you look at the dirt behind on the back of your neck? It almost matches the dirt behind your ears.
My mother taught me about staying with a task until it's all finished.
I'm going to tell you this much, sir. You're going to sit right there until every bite of that spinach is off of your plate. My
mother taught me about weather and storms.
This room looks like a tornado went through it.
My mother told me never, ever to make inflated statements.
If I've told you once, I've told you at least 1,000,000 times, don't exaggerate.
My mother taught me about the circle of life.
I brought you into this world, and I can take you right out of it.
My mother taught me about anticipation.
Just wait till your father gets home.
My mother taught me about medical science.
If you don't stop crossing your eyes, they're going to freeze that way for sure.
My mother taught me about love and encouragement.
When that lawnmower cuts off your toes, don't you come running to me.
My mother taught me the value of learning what experts believe.
Because I said so, that's why.
My mother taught me about my family roots.
Shut that door behind you till you think you were born in a barn?
And my all-time favorite, my mother taught me about justice.
One day, you're going to have kids, and I hope they turn out just like you.
So you see, it's our mothers who turned us into such pathetic elders. Thank you so very much, Mom.
And thank you so very much, David. I remember sitting in front of a bowl of cherry jello that I was not going to eat for a very long time. Who here doesn't love Norm Liedtke? Isn't he wonderful? Norm and his wife Phyllis were kind of trying to determine, should they be going up to their idyllic North Carolina farm? You know, the birds are nesting and the croci are pushing up from the soil, and they're just thinking, boy, that'd be a lovely place to be. Should they leave now, or should they wait and be part of Springsteen? And you know what they chose? You got it, Springsteen. Norm Liedtke has chosen to linger just long enough to share a little singing and a little trumpet with you. And so our attention is our thanks, Norm, as we sit back and enjoy your rendition of Honeysuckle Rose. Give a warm welcome to Norm Liedtke, Mr. Suave and Sophisticated.
Think back 87 years. The roaring 20s are ending. Fats Waller writes Honeysuckle Rose. It's 1929, and the stock market is about to crash. Honeybee sprays with jealousy when they see me out with me. I don't give you honey ho, honeysuckle rose. When you're passing by, flowers droop and sigh, and I know the reason why. You're much sweeter than this nose, honeysuckle rose. Sugar, you just have to touch my cup. You're my sugar. It's sweeter when you stir it up. When I'm taking sips from your tasty lips, seems the honey fairly drips. Your confection goodness knows, honeysuckle rose.
Bravo, Norm. Have you spotted our very own Murray Bang Bang Hunter here at the John Knox Village dances? He's out there feeling the beat, making his moves. And he does just that tonight to the beat of a jazz arrangement of Softly as in a Morning Sunrise. Murray Hunter. Murray Hunter, bravo. Ladies, his dance card is empty. Grab him after the show and sign up. He needs a partner. He's marvelous. Now, if you come to church on Sunday mornings, Murray always sits right there where Elaine is sitting, and I sit up here. And when I was learning people's names, which I'm still doing, he'd look at me and he'd go, bang, bang, to help me remember Hunter, bang, bang, Hunter. So if you come to church and you see the preacher up here, look down at the congregation and go, bang, bang. It's just a little clue, a little cue between me and Murray. That's all. That's all. All right. As sure as there is a spring scene, one can rely on Dan Smith to provide material that will make us smile and laugh. How many years has it been? 12? Perhaps 15 years. The words spring scene and Dan Smith are used together. Not to the exclusion, of course, of his appearances with the Villagers and volunteerism with his wife Eleanor all across the John Knox Village campus. Tonight, Dan ponders life from 80 years ago. Do you remember?
Thank you. I grew up in the 1930s and the early part of 1940. It was a good time to grow up. Lots of things that went on then, and there were many of you who grew up at the same time, but a lot of you, can you remember these? Saturday morning movie serials 1 to 15. Fly paper, penny loafers, Lucky Strike Green. Flat tops, soda pops, kids in Model Ts. Ah, do you remember these? Cigar bands on your hand, a Bigfoot circus clown, ice cream cones, rotary phones, caps that button down, movie stars on Dixie cup tops, knickers to your knees. Ah, do you remember these? Hit parade, grape Kool-Aid, and saving war bond stamps. Pedal pushers, ducktail hair, your first dance in blue serge pants. Howdy doody, tutti fruity, the seams on the back of her hose. Ah, do you remember those? James Dean on the screen, movies that were taboo. Senior prom, good old mama, rock and rollin' you. Cracker Jack prize, stars in your eyes, say yes sir, ma'am, and please. Ah, do you remember these? Marching bands, lemonade stands, taking your tonsils out. Red sunburns, waiting your turns, school touchdowns made you shout. Cigarette loads, secret codes, chewing gum made of tar. Ah, do you remember back that far? Mason jars, strumming guitars, radios for the news. Going steady, lots of confetti, wearing blue suede shoes. Knock knock jokes, who's there? Dewey, Dewey who? Do we remember these? Ah yes, do we remember these? Thank you.
Every time it makes me chuckle when he gets to the part and talks about chewing gum made of tar, and you all laugh. Well, while we get ready for our next act, last night somebody said to me, at this point in the show, we've got about 2 more hours to go. And one of our guests last night said, that's a long time to have to sit. So I'm going to suggest everybody, if you feel like it, stand up and shake it out a little bit. All right? You put your right hand in, you put your right hand out, you put your right hand in, and you shake it all about. Here's the fun part. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. And that's what it's all about. Hey, does that feel good? Yeah. You know, thinking of that song, it's very, very sad news today. I'm not sure if you saw it. It was all over the internet and on national news. The man who wrote the Hokey Pokey passed away yesterday. Yeah, he did. It was, the funeral director that was in charge of the arrangements and taking care of his body had an awful time taking care of things because he put him in this lovely large coffin, and he put his right hand in, and he put his right hand out, and he put his right hand in, and he shook it all about. And boo! Boo! You really thought it happened, didn't you? Oh my gosh. All right. Remember the show Gigi with its poignant duet, I Remember It Well? Well, our own Sally Cash and David Summers reinforce your memory by singing it for you right now. David has recently moved into John Knox Village. He sang for many years in the chorus of the Palm Beach Opera. Sally is a notable and former assistant director of that group. And now, do you remember?
I can remember everything as if it were yesterday. We met at 9.
We met at 8.
I was on time.
No, you were late.
Ah, yes, I remember it well. We dined with friends.
We dined alone.
A tenor sang.
A baritone.
Ah, yes, I remember it well. That dazzling April moon.
There was none that glowed, and the month was June.
That's right. That's right.
It warms my heart to know that you remember still the way you do.
Ah, yes. I remember it well. How often I've thought of that Friday
Monday.
night when we had our last rendezvous. And somehow I foolishly wondered if you might by some chance be thinking of it too. That carriage ride.
You walked me home.
You lost a glove.
I lost a comb.
Ah, yes, I remember it well. The brilliant sky.
We had some rain.
Those Russian songs.
From sunny Spain.
Ah, yes, I remember it well. You wore a gown of gold.
I was all in blue.
Am I getting old?
Oh, no, not you. How strong you were, how young and brave, a prince of love in every way.
Ah, yes, I remember it well.
I
remember it well.
absolutely lovely. Thank you. Don't you love these beautiful moments? While the guys change the set, let's do a little singing together. Once you recognize the song, jump in. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old and older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country road. Good for you. Good for you. Now you can all say that you were part of Spring Scene. Isn't that nice? Our friend Jackie Cork gets more mail every day than everyone else in Castle's Tower combined. Someday we're going to find out why. However, enigmatic about nothing else, Jackie gregariously volunteers at Gardens West. She helps in the library, and she faithfully participates in Spring Scene. And of course, she's back again this year. And this year she presents Mrs. Grump. Let's follow the example. Ladies and gentlemen, Jackie Cork.
Wow. Wish I knew her. I don't know where she's hiding tonight, but I don't know her. Oh, well. Yes, well, I've been thinking, yeah, I know you say it's about time, but I've been thinking about our government and the country, the way we are. Oh, we are in a mess. However, I found a way I think we can make it better, and I will be Mrs. Grump. But we're going to see about adapting ways of our president, and then seeing if that doesn't help us to get out into a better situation. And I think that it will. Either that or I'll be saying bye-bye. Anyway, but I think that the first thing, I'm sure you've all noticed, you've seen him before, you've seen President Trump, and you've seen how he messes his hair up as well, and a great big bunch like this, and it goes like this, and you wonder how in the world does he ever see? That's not important. He doesn't care. Because if he sees it, he'll probably say, "But he's mad at him anyway." So here we go, look at this. And so, you think, how in the world is that going to help us? I've got the answer. If we follow this and we leave our hair like this and don't get it cut, we save money. And we will all be rich, and our money can go to some other things that are more important. That's the first step I thought of that. And I must say I haven't presented these to President Trump yet, but that's okay. All right, so the next thing I thought about, well, we do hear about his doing the tweets all the time. And I'm not much on that little thingamajigger, the tweet. To me, it sounds like a smelly rat or something. Or you're calling your dog, I'm not sure. But nevertheless, since he plays with his quite often, and he does make the sounds and all that, I figure he could promote the idea of everybody having a phone with a tweet on it, and that way you wouldn't have to buy so many toys, and you wouldn't have to mail those letters with the stamps. So, therefore, ergo, and so forth, you would not have to spend so much money again. I'm very stingy-natured, yes. Okay, so he then could do that and help us know how to do that too. So we've got two ways there we might just be able to help him, or him to help us, get by. The third one then is, well, I'm not sure whether everybody like it or not, but we're going to try it anyway because these are my ideas, and I am sure that, well, somebody will listen anyway because they'll want something from me if they don't, okay? So I think that the next thing is you've seen President Trump again, and he always has his face and with expressions like this, and that, all right, he does that, and you say, how is that going to help us? Well, here's what it's going to do. It's going to keep his face young. His face will not get old and crinkly, but it will be young, and if we do the same thing, we will stay young as well. That's another one. Well, the next one that I figure that we could do, and this might take a little more effort, is the one where he has had, I think, 3 wives. Well, each man, when he gets married, could marry one and divorce her, and he would put the stipulation when he divorces her, that's all right, you don't have to stay around the house until I tell you to come and here. All right, so then that woman and all the children would come by, and he would go where he needs to go, whether it's his special houses or the White House, wherever, and as he goes, they would come with him. Well, if you got that many wives and children and so forth, that's going to look like an army. And so people will not bother you if you got that many people, especially if we give the children a little thing that looks like a real gun, and we have water in it or something, or tasers or whatever, something that makes it look like a real gun. Nobody's going to bother him. So we've got another thing we can do. The last thing that I could think of, and fortunately I decided to go to sleep after that, but anyway, he was talking about building a wall, and I think we can really help him out with that. I think over here on I-95, I think there is a place that we could help build a wall. Let's make it about 10 feet tall and be so that nobody could see over it or crawl over it either. So people would not get back and forth. And we would be safe on this side. Nobody could come and bother us. And we, being on this side, know that we are the adults and the wise people and the ones who have a lot to offer our nation. So with that part of it, we know that would be helpful. And the other part, then we would be able to keep all of those naughty, whatever words you want to use, people away from us. And we'd even have some ways of playing around that fence, or that wall. I'm sorry, wall is the better word. So that we could rest there and put our little pillows down, and we could just have one big fun time. Now, that's my idea. If you have something, better send it to him, okay? All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie Cord. The entertainment world has informed us that tap is back. You saw a little soft shoe dancing from Murray earlier. Now we're going to have some tap dancing. 2 of our very own employees are practitioners of this wonderful art form. Hello, ladies. Introducing to you tonight our community liaison, Candace Robinson, and our admissions coordinator, Christina Rodriguez. They are Tappy.
what you're doing tonight. Hope you're in the mood because I'm feeling just right. How's about a corner with a table for two, where the music's mellow and some gay rendezvous? There's no chance romancing with the blue attitude. You've got to do some dancing to get in the mood. Sister, what you call 'em, that's a timely idea. Something swing-a-dilla would be good to my ear. Everybody must agree that dancing has charm. When you have the certain one you love in your arms, stepping out with you will be a sweet interlude. A builder-up that will put me in the mood. In the mood. That's it, I got it. In the mood. Your ear will spot it. In the mood. Oh, what a hot hit. Be alive and get the jive. You got to learn how. Hip, hip, hip. Hip like a heifer. Pep, pep, pep. Hot as a pepper. Step, step, step. Step like a stepper. We're mugging and hugging. We're in the mood now. Mister, what you call 'em, all you needed was fun. You can see the wonders that this evening has done. Your feet were so heavy till they hardly could move. Now they're light as feathers and you're right in the groove. You were only hungry for some musical food. You're positively, absolutely in the mood. Sister, what you call 'em, I'm indebted to you. It all goes to show what good influence can do. Never felt so happy and so fully alive. Seems the jam and jumping is a powerful jive. Kangaroo has given me a new attitude. My heart is full of rhythm and I'm in the mood. In the mood, that's it, 'cause I got it and I'm in the mood. The ear will spot it when you're in the mood. Be alive and get the jive, you got to learn how. Hip, 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 you're hip like a hipper full of pep, pep, pep. You're hot as a pepper and you step, 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 step like a stepper. We're hugging, and now we're hugging, 'cause we're in the mood.
And anyone that visits or moves into the Woodlands gets a free tap dance lesson. Isn't that wonderful? I feel very blessed to be able to introduce to you my wife, Holly, who is just a wonderful musician. She went to Ithaca College and studied voice and performance and music education. Little fact, Jerry Stryker, our CEO, and Holly went to college at the same college and just sort of barely overlapped each other's careers there. Holly's going to share with you tonight some music from an instrument called a hammered dulcimer. Did a little research. It turns out dulcimers are it's a very old instrument. It might go back as far as many hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, and perhaps even started historically in the Middle East. Holly'd like to show you this. Our guest last night said, we couldn't see this thing. A hammered dulcimer is a sound box with bunches of strings strung across it with some well-placed frets or bridges. And it's played by using some small wooden hammers, and you're going to watch Holly just sort of beat on this, and the sound comes out. The hammered dulcimer is believed to be the precursor to the harpsichord, and more importantly, to the piano. And so it's just a real great pleasure to present and introduce to you not only this instrument, but this lovely lady, Holly Powell.
Evening. Okay, we're on. Good evening. Daryl and I would like to share two traditional fiddle tunes with you tonight. The first one is Golden Slippers,
which I think will be very familiar to you. And the second one is called The Road to Lisdoonvarna. And Lisdoonvarna is a famous town in Ireland. It's widely known for its music and all types of festivals that it hosts every year. So here's Golden Slippers.
Gotta get closer here. Yeah. All right, go ahead. As part of the Art Sage experience this coming week, you'll be able to hear Holly play some more hammered dulcimer, so please keep an eye out for that. I promised our daughter that I'd do a little joke, her very favorite joke for you. It's very quick. It's a knock-knock joke. And if you learn this, you have to say it back to Hannah because it'll make her very happy. So, knock, knock. Interrupting cow. Moo! That's it. Get it? I interrupted you. Moo. We've got a very special performer for you tonight. Helen Wiley performed a reading here for John Knox Village over 20 years ago titled Rindersella. She came across the script again just a few weeks ago, and she was very surprised that she could still do it. Now a Gardens West resident, Helen has held many JKV leadership and volunteer positions. I was asked to make a very special announcement that tonight, for the reprieve of her Rindersella reading, we welcome her son Walter Wiley and his wife Susan, who are here from Worthington, Ohio, and her daughter Maureen Ray from Bowling Springs, South Carolina. And so now, without any further ado, we present to you Mrs. Helen Wiley performing Rindersella.
Good evening. A few months ago, I was going through some old pictures, and I came across one in which I was wearing this blouse. And the bottom part of the picture said, Spring Fling, April 1995. Now you can do the math yourself on that. We had just moved into John Knox about 3 or 4 months before that, and my husband played his clarinet, and I gave this silly reading that night. This is about Rindersella. A time long ago in a corn country, there lived a gritty pearl named Rindersella. She lived with her evil stepmother and her 2 sad bisters. Poor Rindersella had to do all the wordy-dirk. She had to load the laundry, dash the wishes, and pop the slings, wearing some old riddy dags and in her fair beat. Also in this corn country, there lived a prince and hints in a sig castle on the hill. He was interested in getting married, so he called a conference of all his friends, and both of them came. They decided to have a dancy fest ball up at the old sig castle and invite all the beautiful women of the country, find one to fall in love with, and get married. The invites went out to everybody in that foreign country, and one came to the household of Rindersella's evil stepmother. Rindersella asked if she could go too, and her stepmother said, "No, you can't go. You've got to do all that wordy-dirk yet, and if you think you can go and meet the prince and hints in those riddy dags and your fair beat, you've got another sink coming." So the evil stepmother and the 2 sad bisters all got dressed up and went off to the fancy ball. leaving poor Rindersella to sit in the corner and cry, hoo poo, hoo boo. Suddenly, all the smoke started sparkling and sparks started sparkling, and there in the midst of it all stood Rindersella's Mary Fodgather. She waved her magic wand and turned Rindersella's ready dags into a beautiful bound. The Mary Fodgather waved the magic wand again, and there in Cinderella's formerly fair beat were a beautiful pair of sass slippers. Then appeared a sunken turned into a poach, and off went Rindersella to the Bancy Fall with a word of warning. When the sig block on the wall starts to strike midnight, you better get out of there fast, because that beautiful bound will turn back into riddy dags, and you'll have to hot foot at home in your fair beat. At the ball, the prancing hints took one look at Rindersella and fell in love right then and there. They danced every dance together. Suddenly, the sig block on the wall started to strike midnight. She skedaddled down those Stowus steps as fast as the sass clippers could carry her. About halfway down, she tripped, and right there in front of everybody, she slopped her dripper. She just got out of the door when her beautiful bound turned back into riddy dags, and she limped home on her fair beat. Meanwhile, the prancing prince stopped to pick up the sass clipper, and the next morning he visited every house in that corn country and finally arrived at the household of Rindersella's evil Mepstother. He tried the sass clipper on the Mepstother's foot. It didn't it. He tried the sass clipper on both of her sad sister's feet and didn't it then either. Then he saw Rindersella sitting in the corner, and he slipped the sass clipper on her foot, and it fidded it. Her dirty dags turned back into a beautiful bound, and the glass slipper, another one appeared, and there was the beautiful girl he had fallen in love with that night at his Bancy Fall. They were happily married and lived together for the rest of their lives. But with all good fairy tales, there's a moral to this story, especially for the ladies. If ever you find yourself in a corn country and are invited by the prancing hints to attend a Bancy Fall at the Sig Castle on the hill, don't forget to slop your dipper.
Yank through Mary Vutch, Helen. What, that's a state glory. Now, it's been 22 years since Helen brought us that wonderful story, and we promise you, you come back in another and you'll hear it again.
I'm going to assist you back out.
As you probably well know, Mr. Mark Rayner is Director of Health Services here at John Knox Village. But you'll also remember him quite well as a spring scene crowd pleaser, usually appearing as part of an energetic singing or dancing group. This year, he has chosen to do a wonderful duet with Natalie Francois, one of his new co-workers. Here are Mark and Natalie with a Lionel Richie number entitled Truly.
Girl, tell me only this, that I have your heart for always, and you want me by your side, whispering the words, I'll always love you. And forever I will be your lover, and I know if you really care, I will always be there.
And now I need to tell you this, there's no other love like your love. And as long as I live, I'll give you all the joy my heart and soul can give.
Let me hold you. I need to have you near me. And I feel with you in my arms. This love will last forever because I'm truly, truly in love with you, girl. I'm truly head over heels with your love. And
And with your love I'm free. Oh,
and truly, you know you're all I need.
you're all I need.
With me.
Yes. Mark and Natalie. Well, we've come near the end of the show, folks. Yeah, go ahead, give an ah, please. Ah. I want to do a very special thank you. We may need a little help and a little lights. In order for these shows to come together and be so successful, we have to have a crew of people who know the technology and do all the back-breaking, sweat-filled hard work to set up chairs, move stage, do all this good stuff. So I want to be sure that we give a warm, wonderful applause and a thank you to our stage crew, which includes Mr. Nick Sconyers. On the soundboard in the back, Mr. Teddy Tenney. Brand new to the John Knox family just this week. We figured we'd make him work really hard in his first 5 days. Mr. Rue White. And knowing just how much work is involved, we needed more help. And we were blessed to be able to bring back for this week Mr. Chris Janata. We're also very grateful for the help of our resident and sort of in-house technician, Mr. Reed Brown. Gentlemen, thank you for your hard work. As the villagers come on stage, we will now be making preparations to hear their wonderful music. The villagers tonight are giving you a preview of their upcoming show, a show that they will be sharing with the notables that you heard earlier, a show entitled Village Voices. It's going to be right here in the auditorium on Friday, April 21st. You wrote that down? Friday, April 21st. There will be several special acts which will augment their film and stage show tunes. We also invite you to be sure you come and attend the Rotary show, which is called It's for the Birds. This is a concert helping to fund a new waterfront pavilion, which will be constructed somewhere around the waterfront. How do you like that? It's scheduled next month, Thursday and Friday, April 27th and April 28th. Check the Village Voice, check it used to be called Thursday Flyer. Keep an eye out, and please, please be part of these wonderful, wonderful events. And now, without further ado, the Villagers Men's Chorus presents first for you, Stout-Hearted Men, a song about men on a ship standing against tyranny. This is from the operetta New Moon. And from South Pacific, there's nothing like a dame. Our soloists tonight are Norm Liedtke, John Thompson, David Hahn, and Jack McNamara. to the villagers. Bravo to Mr. Chris Toth. Bravo to Director Elaine McNamara. Bravo. As our cast of thousands makes their way to the stage for our closing number, I wish to remind and encourage all of you to take note of the brochures you have received this week about the first annual Art Sage Week. It begins this Saturday, featuring the Venetian Art Society right here in the auditorium. Please refer to your Art Sage program for full details and take full advantage of all the opportunities to see art and make art.
Some of our acts went home tonight. We don't have everybody that we had last
Some
night.
of our acts went home. Oh, now I invite you all, please turn to the back of your bulletins. Sing along with us as we bid adieu to one another. See you next year. See you Saturday.
And if I may,
Good night.
If I may, would you please give a big round of applause for please Reverend Darrell Powell, the wonderful MC for tonight. Have a wonderful night, everyone.